Now, you know that Paddy's published a book called It's the Effing News. And he hasn't got a full-time job at the moment, so Paddy is probably wanting to push a bit of paper, and he's going around saying stuff. And I think I couldn't and I was at social media, I said, I'll just ignore Paddy because he's a bit of an attention seeker. He's got a little bit of NPD, narcissistic personality disorder, I think, Paddy Gower. Though, look, he runs a bloody good televised debate, and he's not a bad bloke, even though he's given up drinking. Where did all this ridiculous stuff that's been kicking around about Paddy Gower over the last few days come from? A story by Joseph Losey. And Joseph Losey used to work for Brian Tamaki at the Waiparawa Trust. But Joseph Losey, pretty good journalist. I've known Joe for years. Willie Losey's brother, the league player's brother. Joe is working for the Herald, and he did an interview with Paddy Gower. I don't know why, but he did. And I'm going to read excerpts from this and just make some comment. When veteran political journalist Paddy Gower, he's been in the game 5 minutes, says the rapidly changing demographics of New Zealand are scaring the white baby boomer population born in the 50s and 60s. Well, actually, baby boomer knocks off just before I was born, which was September of 64. Latest census data shows the Maori population at nearly 1 million of the country's 5.3 million total, and other non-white ethnicities such as Asians and Pacifica people are also rapidly increasing. So Joe Losey is also doing eugenics and, let's define ourselves by colour. Gower, a News Hub journalist, well, for the next 3 days, and social commentator, who elevated Paddy frickin' Gower to be a social commentator. He said New Zealand faced a huge division over race relations, and he's hoping good average New Zealanders won't get sucked into the political rhetoric. Well, what have you been peddling for most of your career except woke political rhetoric, Paddy? What concerns me is the huge amount of division we have over race relations, Gower told the Herald. We haven't got division, we've got debate, mate. Race relations has been a part of my 47 years on this earth, you kid. But at the moment it appears to be more than divided ever in terms of the disparity on the Pākehā and Maori sides. The gap between the two is quite distant. Gap in what, Paddy? We all live in the same country. We drive up and down the same bloody streets. We work in the same workplaces, Paddy. What disparity on earth are you talking about? Sean, Gower said throughout New Zealand, race relations had simmered along and released like a genie in a bottle. But most times common sense prevailed, and New Zealanders would look at bigger picture issues like the cost of living rather than whether or not they feel aggrieved that a government department had a Maori name, or indeed a Pākehā name, Paddy. Gower said political agendas were being pushed by the right via the ACT Party and equally from the left, radical pushback from Te Pāti Māori. We now know 1 in 5 New Zealanders in this country are Māori. No, they're not purely Māori. Have some Maori blood, Patrick. Gower said they are young and making up more of New Zealand. Let's face it. Now, this is the thing that's been widely reported on social media. Quote from Paddy Gower. Let's face it, these Pākehā baby boomers hold a lot of the power in this country. Well, they're not holding up the transmission lines, Paddy. A lot of sway and a lot of the debate, and they're the ones that go out and vote. Actually, demographics change quite a lot in voting too, Paddy. And that's where a lot of these views sit, and this is the thing that got me. Old white men are scared of what's coming. And what is it that's coming, Paddy? And who says that old white men, which is an ageist, racist, misandrist thing to say, old white men, and those 3 words, Paddy, you show that you're into identitarian politics. We're having debates we don't need to have around race relations. The very fact we're having them, Paddy, tells us that we need to have them. And it's not up to you to decide on the grounds of whether or not they're old white men, we should have a debate. Old white women are into it. Māori are into it. Asians are into it. Samoans, Pacifica. These people are worried about silly things like if the name should be New Zealand Transport Agency rather than Waka Kotahi. No, Paddy, they're worried about democracy. They're worried about one person, one vote. They are worried about a separate justice system, a separate parliament, preferential for treatment for people based on the colour of their skin or their ethnic background. You simplistic bonehead. And we do need to have these debates, and we've had to have these honest debates for a long time. And you and your mates in the woke media, who are all going out of business, I notice, because most New Zealanders don't agree with you, they are sick and tired, Paddy, of being called racists by woke-tards like you. I challenge you, Paddy, to come on and have a debate with me about the old white male. And I just think this is a pathetic attempt to sell paper. It's not the effing news, Paddy. You are clearly, like almost everyone who works in legacy media, particularly TVNZ, particularly News Hub, which is going out of business, particularly stuff. You're not a reporter and you're not a journalist. You're an advocate. You've become a political agitator, and that is why no one gives you credibility or takes you seriously. And, of course, the stupid bloody Herald writes the story and gives you time. I was in Parliament when Tariana Tura and Peter Sharples were MPs. Says, the talk has certainly changed since then. No, it hasn't actually, Paddy. It's about the same. I was in Parliament when Matt Rata, when Whetu Terakatni Sullivan. And what we look for is a recognition of Māori as the first peoples of New Zealand, but also a recognition that we have a wonderful and functional democracy. So, I don't know. Paddy says the solution is don't get goaded into these political rows. It's not going to get us anywhere. Tell you what won't get us anywhere, Paddy, is your woke discrimination and your advocacy journalism. Yeah, in 20 years, Paddy will be an old white male. I don't feel like an old white male, Paddy. I'm a New Zealander, and I'll debate what the F I want, whether you tell me I'm a racist or not.